When cooking, Arabs used to place 3 stones, and in the middle they would start a fire. And then they would rest a pot atop these 3 stones. And then when water starts boiling, the pot starts shaking in turbulence while making a certain sound. Arabs call that sound Qalqalah. And this is today's lesson. Much like the turbulent pot that we were just talking about, which was not completely still, but it wasn't moving either. Qalqalah, or as it is called in English, echoing letters, describes a state of sound that is between sukun, which is essentially stopping air from flowing, and on the other side, haraka, or vowel, which is necessarily air flowing through the mouth. To understand the concept of qalqala and to apply it properly, you need to understand what kind of problem does qalqala solve and why does it exist in the first place. Qalqala is concerned with these 5 letters: Qaf, Ta, Ba, Jim, and Dal. When these 5 letters have sukun, they would have this sign on top or no sign at all. Each one of these 5 letters is a plosive sound, which means that it is produced by a gush of air being trapped somewhere in your mouth. It is trapped since it has sukun. And when this happens and air remains trapped in there, the letter will sound very muffled and it will lose some of its characteristics. And it will sound like this: Thawab, Muhit, Ahad. So when we say we want to apply qalqala on these 5 letters, we actually want to release this gush of air so that the letter would be more pronounced and more recognizable, but without adding any vowels. So this is what it should sound like: Thawab, Muhit, Ahad. So the most common mistake here is the tendency of adding a fatha at the end of the word to compensate for the qalqala, which is not the same as just releasing the air. Remember, we said qalqala is not completely still, and it doesn't involve a movement either. So try and hear the difference between qalqala and fatha. So, waqa, waqa. ثواب ثواب محيط محيط بروج بروج. So how do you get it right? The trick to get qalqala correctly is not moving any of your articulators when releasing the airflow. Articulators are the organs or the parts of your mouth that you use to produce sounds. You see, adding fatha will essentially require that you would open up your mouth by moving your jaws away from each other, even a little bit, otherwise the fatha will never be produced. Proper qalqala, however, will only require that you would open up your mouth without doing any movement with your jaw or your teeth, so just letting the air out through your mouth. Let's compare the differences between these 2 words while looking at the charts. خلق خلق كسب كسب. Now, as you can see, there is a jaw movement when it comes to pronouncing the word that ends with fatha, because without jaw movement, fatha will never be produced. So in order to get the qalqala right, make sure that your jaw and your teeth are in the exact same position while releasing the air. Now that you understand the technique of qalqala, let's find out where you should apply it. As mentioned in the beginning, qalqala is only applied on 5 letters. And these 5 letters form the word qutb jad, which makes it easier for you to remember the 5 letters. And you will apply qalqala in 2 cases. First, when the letter has true sukun on top, which is the sign of sukun or no sign at all, like in these examples. وادخلي جنتي لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد ناقة الله وسقياها. So as you can see, this sign represents true sukoon, and seeing this sign on top of one of the 5 letters means that you will always apply qalqala. In other words, you will always release the air trapped in your mouth without adding fatha or any other vowel. The second case when you're going to apply qalqala is when any of the qutb jad letters come at the end of a word and you stop at that word. Generally, when you stop at any word, it will always get sukoon at the end of it. We learned that in this lesson. Make sure you check it out if you haven't done that already. So let's see what happens when you stop in the middle of an ayah. وَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِهِ مِنَ الْأَحْزَابِ وَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِهِ مِنَ الْأَحْزَابِ فَالنَّارُ مَوْعِدُهُ. Notice how I changed the pronunciation of ba when I stopped at the word al-ahzab and when I kept on reading and I said min al-ahzabi fannar. So the pronunciation of ba changed from qalqala when I stopped at it to no qalqala when I kept on reading. Let's look at another example. قل يا أيها الناس قد جاءكم الحق قد جاءكم الحق من ربكم. The same thing with the word al-haqq. When I stopped at it, even though it has dhamma on top of it, but when I stopped at it, this means that the dhamma will turn into sukoon, which means that I'll have to apply qalqala on the qaf. But when I continued on reading, this qalqala disappeared. One more example. وَاللَّهُ مِن وَرَائِهِم مُحِيطٌ. Now, if you're looking for more training for qalqala, Surah Al-Buruj is certainly one of the best surah that you can use to train yourself. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. Now listen to these examples, which I will pronounce with and without qalqala, so that you would hear the difference. اقترب للناس حسابهم اقترب للناس حسابهم الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا. Were you able to hear the difference? Now, one funny thing about qalqala. We mentioned in the beginning that qalqala is a sort of an echoing sound. If you look closely at the word qalqala, you'll see that the meaning of the word is reflected back in the word itself. Qalqalah. So one part of the word is repeated inside the word, like echo repeats the original sound. Now it's time to recap. Qalqala is a state of sound between complete stillstand and movement. It is therefore releasing air without moving any of your articulators or adding any vowels. You apply qalqala only on 5 letters, forming the word qutb jad. You apply qalqala only when there is a true sukoon that has a sign or no sign at all, or when you apply a stopping sukoon. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something new today. If you did, please like and share the video for other people to learn from it. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.